friends, I'm Rich Larson and I'm the IRC Tire Guy. Today we're doing a special review of the 2020 Sherco Factory 300 and how it compares to its Austrian competitors KTM and Husqvarna. As you may know, I'll be riding the French brand for the 2020 Extreme Enduro Series here in the United States. I've rode the Austrian competitors for over 14 years and I'm extremely excited to go over some of the differences I see on the new bike. I want to start this review by saying most of my training is done in extreme enduro situations, so that's where this review will be taking place. In the previous episode, I explained some of the extreme enduro parts that I add to this machine to prepare it for this test. If you haven't checked out that episode, make sure to head there now and watch it. That's basically what I do to every bike before I hit the trails. Now let's get into it. I was very excited to test the new Sherco. As soon as it was unboxed, the parts were added, it was dialed in, I was ready to go hit the trails. The Sherco is kind of a throwback to basics. It's not direct injection like the KTM and Husqvarna models I've been riding in the past. It doesn't have a counterbalancer. It has different ergonomics. It's basically a completely different machine. So let's start by talking about engine feel. Basically, I haven't rode a carbureted bike since 2017 on a Husqvarna TC250. That was back in my Endurocross days. Changing from a carb to a TPI is almost easier. The TPI bikes have a more smooth, tamed feel. Once you go back to a carburetor from a TPI bike, it's almost a little bit harder. The best way for me to explain it is the bike almost feels more alive. I almost feel like I'm constantly adjusting and adapting to the bike. Honestly, it kind of makes me feel like I'm more one with the machine, like I'm talking to it and jiving with it while I'm riding. The way I explain the TPI bikes is it almost feels more artificial. And I'm not saying that in a bad way by any means. I was beyond impressed with the TPI bikes. The results I achieved and the punishment that that bike took is beyond commendable. I believe every year the TPI bikes are going to get better and better, just like the difference between the 19 and 20 TPI models. That being said, there's something about a carbureted bike. The Sherco has the tried and true 36mm key and carb, which has been refined year after year, and honestly, it's hard to beat. Now the question I get more than anything is how bad is the vibration due to no counterbalancer? Honestly, I don't think I would have noticed it if the question hadn't been asked over and over. There is slightly more vibration in the foot pegs and the handlebars. Now you can change out the handlebar mounts from metal to rubber and that will mitigate some of the vibration. That being said, is the vibration a deal breaker? I say absolutely not. I completely forgot about it within the first 30 minutes of riding. Alright, so let's talk about some of the bike's specific characteristics. The Sherco is a trials brand, and honestly, when you're riding the bike, you notice that. To me, the bike is catered to a more trial style rider. It loves the technical. It's extremely well balanced. It almost feels lower to the ground like a trials bike. Even the seat is lower, which makes it that much more easy to balance and control. It's not just the chassis that has that kind of trials feel, so does the engine. The biggest difference I feel on this bike is the low end power. It's almost like the area where the bike makes the most tractable low end power is bigger. The kind of power that you need in technical slick situations to hold traction with the rear tire is that much easier to find on the Sherco. This is a huge selling point for me and any other extreme enduro rider. The bike is tailored for hard enduro. I feel like my ability on this machine in really technical situations is above any bike I've ever ridden. I think I have a really awesome chance for some amazing finishes on this bike and I'm feeling really confident in the engine. That being said, I think with the stronger bottom end, there is a slight sacrifice on the top end. I believe the KTM and Huskies have a stronger top end power. It seems like KTM and Husqvarna have a really strong engine and they pull a little bit harder on top. Although I wouldn't say it's enough to make or break buying a Sherco. Alright, let's talk suspension. So, as you may know, I'm a proponent of getting used to the stock stuff and then making adjustments. That being said, after the first 20 hours on the Sherco, I'm beyond impressed with the KYB suspension. I adapted so quickly. This is my first time on the KYB stuff, and I'm pumped it comes stock on the machine. It's a big improvement from the WP, and I gotta say that's a big selling point. Finally, let's talk about a few things I can nitpick with the Sherco. Let's talk clutch pull. The Sherco comes with a stock Brembo 10 hydraulic clutch. I got arm pump on the first day because it was a little bit harder to pull than I was used to with the Austrian brands. I changed the Brembo master cylinder to a 9 instead of a 10, and I gotta say that helped a lot. But a new master cylinder can get expensive. Adjusting the front fork clickers on the KYB suspension can get a little bit tiresome because of the placement directly under the handlebars. You can't use a regular screwdriver. What I had to do was use a flathead tip with a wrench. That may bother a few guys. Now, when draining the oil, there's 2 drain plugs. This causes a little bit of a mess, especially if you have a skid plate, so have some cleaner on hand. Also, adding oil has to be done extremely slow due to the placement of the oil cap and the internal clutch basket. The first time I changed the oil, I went with a quick pour and it made a big mess. These are all little things I noticed on the bike, and it wouldn't necessarily stop me from buying a Sherco, but I thought I should mention them. Honestly, this is an amazing machine, and I'm really excited to be on a Sherco for the 2020 season. I think it's going to carry me to some awesome results. Remember, every brand has their pros and cons. There's technology, there's simplicity. One isn't necessarily better than the other. Again, it all comes down to preference. If you're enjoying these videos, make sure you hit that subscribe button, and until next time, keep shredding.